Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Nope, I hang out, do this program with you. My name is Mike Piwowarski. I am the co-host from the East Coast. That's the co-host with the most from the coast with the most. Here on the Rundown, 2A views, conservative news. And Craig, happy Thirsty Thursday, sir.
Happy Thirsty Thursday, sir. I will tell you once again, I've been successful. My weekend has kind of officially begun. At least I've been, with the exception of the time that I'm spending with you here today, I have been pretty much enjoying my early weekend.
Very nice, very nice. Have you gotten in an early honeydew work around the house?
Oh, yeah. No, redid the closets for my wifey while she's out of town, which, by the way, her being out of town made it a little bit easier for the weekend to begin a little early, and planning a nice little get together with the fellas this weekend, playing a little poker, eating some pulled pork and chicken wings, and it's all good, bruh.
Little poker, pulled pork, and chicken wings. Sounds like a weekend right there. Sounds like a party.
Party. Almost feel like I need a mullet.
Sinbad used to say, remember? Yep.
Hey, folks,
how come we don't have any Sinbad anymore? Where'd he go?
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you, I will say his newest routine. I don't know how long it's been he's been doing this routine, but he was married, he got divorced, and now he's remarried, and his routine about being remarried is hilarious. I've seen him a few times here in Sacramento where he's done his stand-up routine. Anyway, funny guy.
I have to look him up. I thought he was done for. I haven't seen him in years,
Nope, he's still out there doing the tour. I'm surprised he hasn't done like a big comedy special or something like that. But no, he's still quite hilarious.
All right, he always was. Good
hey,
stuff.
Folks,
Good
before
guy.
we go forward, I just want to let you guys know, for those of you who do not know, the Rundown is not the only opportunity you have to see Mike or myself. Mike does a bomb show. When I say bomb, I mean like really like cool, like hip and all of that. Anyway, cool show called
rating,
Arms Room Radio. You want to tell them a little bit about it, Mike?
Yeah, it's the anchor that started it all, right? We've been doing it 8 years. It's Earl, the great grandson of Daniel Boone, and I do the program on Saturdays live, 3 to 5 p.m. Go to armsroomradio.com. You can figure out what station we're on or listen to us live on the old internets there. So that's 2 hours of us, looking at the news and beating up on each other and having fun with everybody.
Phenomenal show. And in fact, how we met was I was doing for the Firearms Policy Coalition a program called Morning Coffee with Craig, which, by the way, you can find on Firearms Policy Coalition's YouTube channel and Facebook page.
It's the bomb. It's the bomb, folks. It's the bomb. Yeah. I mean, like a good bomb, like a bomb that kills terrorists.
No, yeah. There you go. Not a terrorist bomb, but a bomb that kills terrorists.
Bomb that kills terrorists. It's a good bomb. Yeah.
But we met at the Gun Rights Policy Conference when it was in Tampa, Florida, and have been hanging out ever since. But that's an opportunity for you, and that's an opportunity for you to hear either one of us talking, doing our thing, doing our shtick and whatnot. But wanted to let you guys know, in case you don't get enough of us by watching the Rundown, those are 2 other opportunities for you to tune in and check us out.
There you go. Do it now.
But make sure, no matter what, though, that when it comes to the Rundown, that you're sharing the program, you're letting folks know about it. Make sure that you've subscribed. If you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook, make sure you hit that notification button. That way you'll be notified as soon as the program goes live. And then also,
do all that stuff.
Yeah, and if you just want to listen, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts.
There you go. It's good advice right there from the man.
Good stuff. Mike, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but Build Back Better is back.
But Build Back Better is back.
Build Back Better is back. That's right. In a stunning turnaround of positioning, Senator Joe Manchin, who has been kind of the lead log in the logjam for a number of Democrat ideas, has decided to come around and support Joe Biden's tax and climate bill. Now, Mind you, the new Build Back Better, baby Build Back Better, doesn't have all of the stuff that was included in the original Build Back Better, but needless to say, it includes a whole lot of money that will be spent on climate change and other stuff and other social programs that none of us need or really truly want. And I got to ask, Mike, I'm just curious, what was it that finally got Joe Manchin to cave to his fellow Democrats?
Probably some Polaroids. They probably found some Polaroids of him doing something he shouldn't have. So they're like, "Hey, Joe, we got these Polaroids." So, no, I have no idea. You listen to, we know it's Joe's last term, right? He's not running again, so maybe he's hearing a little more from his hometown peoples about the infrastructure. And remember that's where part of this money come from, and that's all I could think is maybe there was something. Some sort of forensic, investigation could, I'm sure, determine this. I bet you there's something in this bill, whether original or one of these amendments, that'll directly benefit West Virginia. It's probably something as simple as that, Craig. I have not had the time to look through all several hundred pages just to see what that might be. But this sounds as though the people of West Virginia said, "Listen, we like what you're doing with everything else, obviously, but we want this for here." And just not sure what the reason is.
Yeah, so it's definitely more modest than the original bill, but we also know that there's a lot of spending that is in this bill that has not fully been fleshed out yet. We know that there was also a deal. The deal with Manchin was that they wouldn't support this, and then they would wind up supporting, or Republicans would wind up supporting that chip bill, the one that goes to put a lot of extra money into funding for to make computer chips here in the United States. Well, now Republicans are trying to, since Joe Manchin has gone against his word, they're now looking to undo that deal as well. So we could see a number of different deals, pieces of legislation, positions change on that legislation since this deal has been unraveled. But the point being is that more of our let me clarify. More money is going to be printed by the U.S. government and go into programs that are going to do absolutely nothing, and our children and our grandchildren are going to wind up having to pay it back.
Yep. Or print more, right? Depending on who gets elected. It's more. Listen, this guy's so deranged, so senile that it all seems to make sense, and it made sense to him before, when he was a senator for 48 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This guy doesn't understand that you and I were talking about this before, basic economics, that I can't just print more money and everything will be okay. That does something called devaluing the dollar, right? When you have more of them than what you have available assets wise. And that's all this is going to do, is going to hurt us more in the long run as we try and get away from this. And I know it's another story, but I don't want to get into it too soon, as we try to get out of this recession.
Yes. Well, exactly. Which, by the way, does lead us to the next story, and that is, are we in fact in a recession? Well, according to all the economic numbers. Now, Mike, I took economics both in high school and in college. And in both cases, I was given the definition of what a recession was. And I was told that when you have 2 quarters in a row of negative growth, we're not talking about low growth, we're not talking about stagnant growth or neutral, we're talking about 2 quarters of negative growth, that's when you're supposed to be in a recession. Well, now we have a president and a White House that is saying, no, we are not in a recession, who are refusing to accept that definition. And I'm just wondering, I'm like, I guess we're not just redefining what a man is or what a woman is or what gender is or what a racism is or what a white supremacist is. Now we're taking economic terms, and we're now going to change the definition of economic terms in order to suit the White House, the president's, or the leftist or the socialist agenda. Now, Mike, once again, like I said, I think we can agree or disagree on the severity of the recession, or the impact of the recession, but by definition, we're in a recession.
Yeah, right. 2 quarters of downward turn, that's a recession, right? That's what we were all taught in economics class, micro, macro, doesn't matter what it was. You learned what a recession was. Business class, you learned what a recession was. And this is, once again, as we talked about earlier in the week, another example of the liberals in the White House trying to control what words mean. We're going to change the meaning of words. Everyday words that we've used forever and ever, we're going to change the meaning of those words in order to benefit our agenda. And that's what's gone on, folks. You can look at the numbers. I think it was 1.6 last quarter, 0.9 this quarter. That's 2 turns. It may have slowed a little, but guess what? Still heading down. Still a recession.
Well, and here's where the question is, and what they're continuing to say is, well, look, wages are up, and unemployment is still relatively low. Well, okay, so, and they're saying so that because of that, we're really not in a recession. I'm not saying I agree with that, Mike. I'm saying that's their argument.
Let me explain the unemployment part. Here's where the unemployment's low. All right, in a recession, it means there's less profits going around, there's less jobs going around, there's less need for employees. So as we get into a recession, they're laying off people, all right? And there's less jobs. So when there's less jobs available, you don't have as many people, as people can't go get jobs because there's less jobs available. So unemployment's down, right, Craig? But there's no ability to go out and get new jobs. They talk about creating 400,000 new jobs. Well, sure they did. They created 400,000 new jobs at the minimum wage level, okay, as opposed to the 700,000, 800,000, advanced workers that are out of jobs now. So you lost 800,000 $30 an hour jobs, but you have 400,000 jobs that have been created in the $9 range.
Well,
so
but you've also got people who have switched over from regular jobs to the gig economy. So a lot of people who had jobs are no longer looking for work because they've found other ways in which to earn an income. And many of those folks, by the way, are leaving California because California has attacked through AB 5 the gig economy, made it very, very difficult for people to own their own business, to do small business. So that's a big part of it. You're right. The wages and the wage levels of the new jobs that are created is lower. And in some cases, by the way, it's a little bit lower because they're moving out of high-cost states where they're having to pay a lot of money. They're moving those jobs to states like Florida and Texas where the cost of living is significantly lower. Therefore, they can pay less for those jobs, but still pay more enough to have a higher standard of living in states, once again, like Florida, like Texas, like Tennessee, like Arizona. But in the end, what's going to wind up happening is you're going to start to not see those transfer of jobs. Eventually, you're going to have people who have been living off the government dole, those people who've been living off the unemployment checks of the government. Yeah, they're going to start to come back. They're going to start to come back and say, well, okay, I can't live off these government welfare checks anymore, and I need to get to work. And there's not going to be jobs available for them that are going to pay what they were making sitting home doing nothing.
When you can't fill high-paying jobs, when you've got so much work out there that you can't fill high-paying jobs, that's good for the economy. Right. When you have so much work available that you can't fill the low-paying jobs, that's when you need to start thinking recession, because those are the only jobs available, and those people are sitting at home collecting checks for unemployment because they'd rather collect $12, $15 an hour to sit home than spend $10 an hour to go to work, right? Because they lost their higher paying job, are collecting unemployment from the higher paying job, and refuse to go get the lower paying job to go to work. So you have to look at the way this works, the way this is woven together.
If you want to look at, and I would just say this, I just not aside from just the standard definition of what a recession is, let's just be honest. I go to the store and I go to buy groceries and I find that I'm paying almost twice as much for the stuff that I used to get at the same time a year and a half ago. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I go to the gas pump, I'm paying more. And I get it. People are like, oh, well, gas prices are down 60 cents. No. They're down 60 cents from a high. From where they were when Biden took office, it's still up over $2. So no,
isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing, Craig? When the gas prices go up, it's not the president's fault, but all of a sudden they've come down 60 cents. They're giving the president credit, folks. If you're listen, I know you're not that blind, folks, but we need you to explain to everybody else out there the falsehood that is being put forth on them. They raise gas prices. Okay, that's raised because they want to get their taxes. They want to do everything else they want to do. And as an election approaches, they lower the gas prices because then they get to say, "Oh, look how much better the economy's doing. Look how much better everybody's doing." Because that's something every day we do. You get gas, and it's burned into your brain how much you paid for gas today. And if it's less, you feel better about your economy. And it's artificial. The gas prices are artificial. They're doing this as we approach an election where the Democrats so desperately want to hold on that they jack gas prices up so high, and now they're bringing them down a little bit lower so you feel better when you go to the polls, not just the pumps.
Yeah. Well, once again, I think you made the best point. It's like, look, you don't get to take you want to blame everyone else for when things go bad, and then you want to take credit for when everything goes good. I just know this. I know that if a Republican were president right now, if Republicans were controlling both houses of Congress right now, that there would be no doubt in the mainstream media that we were in a recession. Just saying.
Well, but if Republicans were in the House and the Senate right now, we wouldn't be in this position. We'd still be riding high. We'd have crushed the fake COVID with a K thing, and our economy was at the best it ever was in 50 years. You know, yes. President Trump's
when we were, that's what happened. You are 100%. Yep. You are 100% correct. Yep. But it's evidence of the hypocrisy of the left and of the mainstream media.
Yep.
And by the way, that leads us to the hypocrisy of the chair of the January 6th committee. You may or may not remember that back in 2004, it was a relatively close presidential election between John Kerry, then Senator John Kerry, and George W. Bush. And following that election, there were a number of Democrats who had basically they were pushing a conspiracy theory dealing with voting machines. And in this conspiracy theory, and this was once again January 6th, 2005, in this conspiracy, Bernie Thompson, who was at the time the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, the ranking member, because they were in the minority then, was part of an effort led by fellow Democrats to undermine and not certify the election there in the presidential election. Now, mind you, every single thing that he is and his committee is charging that the president and members of Congress and protesters did on January 6th, 2021, every single thing that he claimed they did, he was a part of on January 6th, 2005. So I just find it interesting. And this, by the way, this was an article by Byron York in the Washington Examiner. He's a chief political correspondent. But I thought it was very interesting as he points this out that, and by the way, this has happened. Even in 2016, you had Democrats who, once again, claimed that Trump stole the election and refused and voted against certification of the election. And yet none of them are being considered part of a conspiracy to overthrow the government.
Listen, that 2016 election, Trump didn't steal. Hillary lost it. That's the truth. You better face it. But this is going on again. The same thing happened back in 2005, and he's back again, facing the same allegations, except now he's putting them on the other side of the table. You know, it's you blocked voters. It was voter fraud. You did a trickery with the machines, and it's like they went back to that playbook and said, and now take it from the left page and put it on the right page. You know, that's how insanely similar all of these allegations are. I mean, it's almost word for word in some places when they write up their allegations.
Well, and once again, to disagree, and once again, doing what you are legally allowed to do. And the problem is now the one difference here is they're pointing to the what occurred at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, what I find interesting, at least in 2016, once again, people forget there were riots in cities, including Washington, D.C., there where police were attacked, where property was destroyed.
Because all we did was win the election.
Right. The only difference was people did not enter the Capitol building in
Yes.
2016.
Yes.
But there were riots. Now, mind you, there were Los Angeles, Oakland,
Yep.
in Portland, in Washington D.C., Detroit, and Chicago. There were riots when Donald Trump got
Okay.
elected.
All right. Well, yeah, but let's be fair. In all of those cities you just named, they riot when the weather's nice. It's just like, look, it's not snowing anymore. Riot. Oh, look, the Lakers won. Riot. You know. Oh, look, we're in Oakland. Riot. You know.
Okay, point made. Point made. But well, once again, the difference here, the thing here is they're doing like prime time broadcasts
Oh yeah.
pointing to some
Yeah.
sort. I mean, look, dude. First of all, this is all kabuki theater. All right, we know this. This is all kabuki theater. What they're doing now in the January 6th committee. Most people are not even bothering to tune in. Most people know it's a bunch of political hooey. But here's where it's starting to get serious. Now they're saying that the Justice Department is about to, or looking into criminal indictments, right?
Really really looking into it. Yeah.
Really looking into criminal
Seriously.
indictments and the White House and the president. A year and a half later.
Wait, Craig. Wait. You mean seriously looking into it as the election approaches?
I know.
Now
Shocking,
we're putting
huh?
those words into the media and into the news. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Right.
I couldn't be that gullible to fall for that, could I?
No, but some voters are.
Yeah.
Some voters are. But in the end, what they're doing is, and this is what's angry, is they're using now the justice system. They're using law enforcement as a political weapon against their opponents.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to be. Now, mind you, once Republicans take over and once they look into the origins of, for example, the Russia collusion hoax, once they start looking into that, once they start really looking into the ties between Hunter Biden, his father, who happens to be the president, and the money that's gone into the Biden family pocketbook in their wallets,
Yep.
people are then going to start to say, oh, look, they're using the criminal justice system against them as a political tool. Well, one, no. But number two, you guys already set the precedent, right? You've already said it's okay to investigate your political rivals. And in this particular case, it's going to be people who actually are committing crimes.
And that's the hope, right? But what's going to happen? We know that after the 2016 election, we all saw during the debate where President or then candidate Trump said that Hillary should be in jail. Yeah, right. He said, and you should be in jail, right?
Lock her up.
And then they came in and they had a conversation. They said, listen, it's best for the nation to heal and move forward and not worry about that. And that's what the Republicans did. Nobody was witch hunting. Nobody went after Democrats from previous terms. None of that happened. Yet they come in after the conservatives, after Trump, after Republican Party said they weren't going to do that. And they did not. Then the Democrats take power, and that's all we have is witch hunt. So my question to you is, when the Republicans take back over, whether that's 24, 28, whatever it happens to be, when Republicans take back over, do they go on the witch hunt? Or do they become the peacemakers again? Because it seems as though the Democrats cannot be the peacemakers; they've got to be the poop stirrers. All right. Do the Republicans come back in? Do we get a DeSantis style who his power alone sets him above that, or do we get a Trump style that says, "I got power and you're going to jail because look what you did to me before"? What's going to be best for the nation?
Well, if we had a fair and honest media, my suggestion would be they need to go to jail. They need to go to jail. I mean, and not necessarily. Let me clarify. What needs to happen is there needs to be serious investigation. I mean, law enforcement investigations. And if people have broken crimes, if they violated the law, if they've committed crimes and violated the law, then they need to pay the price. And the American people need to have all of the information as to why that is. Because you're right, we've gotten to a point where Democrats have flat out lied. Yeah. Yeah. And the stuff that they're presenting now on television in the January 6th committee is a flat out lie. And when I say that, I mean They are fabricating things. I'm still, even with everything that they've done, I'm still like, okay, so what has happened? Please tell me from a legal standpoint where exactly you see criminal charges. You
Yeah.
can
Well,
say,
they don't.
if I believe everything that they've said, okay, then if everything you said is true, then at worst, he was a jerk who didn't do all that he could have to try and stop or reduce the riots or the stuff that took place on January 6th. That's about the worst you can, that's about the worst you can say. I still don't see criminal behavior. Or at least show me exactly what law he broke.
They can't. They
Right.
can't, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Whereas with the Hillary and Trump thing, he could have, and they decided against doing so. Which is, by the way, not without precedent.
Right.
We heard Donald Trump say that he idolized and did his history on Abraham Lincoln. Remember, he liked that style. He liked what he did there. Well, if you recall what Lincoln did at the end of the Civil War, we had the opportunity to put everybody that seceded, all of those politicians, all of the people that pledged allegiance to the South, the CSA rather than the USA.
Mm-hmm.
They all were criminals according to the USA. Remember, it was President Lincoln who said no. We're going to let them go home, collect their pension checks. They'll never be allowed to hold office again, but they're done. That's how we start. We move forward. We don't put our brothers in jail. And that's what Trump did after he got elected.
Then they went and they were like, oh, it became a sign of weakness. And then they decided to then once again attack him. And that's what the whole Russia collusion was.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Now, I believe it's like when a pirate takes over, right? You walk in and you shoot the number one guy in the face, and then you're good. You don't have to put everybody in jail, but you put the one person in. That's probably the way that I would have went forward, but he didn't do it. So again, it brings it back to the question: when we have another change of power, do we want to see this? Are we done with this nonsense, or does the next guy or gal who comes in say we're not doing that again? Oh, and by the way, if you try and cross me, I will throat punch you.
Yes. I don't know. We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
Moving right along to our next topic. So there's a story out on CBS News, and I found this interesting. So in this story, CBS points out that gun makers or firearms manufacturers actually made a significant profit on, what they call them assault rifles, but we're talking about assault weapons. Then they go on further to call them military-style assault rifles, which you and I both know is not true. But they point out they made over $1 billion in profit. And in profit, now the title says in sales, but in the further down in the story, it says in profits. They made over $1 billion in profits over a decade from the sale of centerfire semi-automatic rifles. That's what they basically are terming to be assault weapons. But there's only one thing that I saw when I read this, Mike, and it was in common use.
Yeah.
To me, meets the definition of in common use. I think they made our case for us.
Listen, I could tell you, without a doubt, and I saw a number earlier this week that said something like 27 million of them in common use. That number is well over 100 million. It's the number of lower receivers and stripped lowers that were sent out and combined with rifles is well over 100 million. See, Craig, because you remember when you buy an AR-15, if you buy the rifle, it comes with the lower receiver. That's the serial numbered part on it, right? Well, that's what they're counting for rifles. So they're saying something like 27 million were sold over the last couple of years. Well, I can tell you for every one rifle that was sold, probably close to 10 to 20 stripped lower receivers were sold. And those ones are easy little, put togethers. You've done your paperwork. You've got your registration, whatever it happens to be. So that common use number is probably close to 100 to 200 million in all actuality. It's there, folks. And they're out there and they belong, and you're never going to be able to get rid of that term. The Supreme Court has mentioned it time after time again for what makes a legitimate ownership of a firearm.
And and when you consider when you consider that number, right? How many of them that are out there, and how few. I mean, we're talking how few are actually used in crimes. I mean, we're talking rifles as a whole
Yeah.
are used in less than 3% of all firearms related crimes. That's rifles as a whole. And obviously these rifles are a subsection of that. That means that they're basically mostly safe and in common use.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just saying that
not saying
meets the definition of Heller of a protected firearm.
Yep. I love the we get to change the definitions of what things are too. By the way, again, change the words, and we've been seeing this for the most part. Government's been doing it with a lot of internal words like recession, but in the firearms industry, they've been changing the names of things for quite some time. We had assault weapon, right? An assault weapon wasn't enough, I guess. So now they're military style assault weapons. We continue to add descriptors to them. To me, Craig, every time I hear military style assault weapon, I think of a regular AR-15 that went and got himself like a set of dog tags, and now every time he goes out, he wears his dog tags outside his shirt and all his social media photos. That's
right.
To me when I hear.
Oh, don't forget, and wears khakis, camo.
Wears
camo.
khakis all the time. That's military style assault weapon, not real military. Just wants to look like it.
There you go. Pretty much. There you go. Exactly. All right, moving along to our parting shots. We've got a few parting shots today. And this first one I wanted to share because in honor of the deal that has been struck, the new Build Back Better, that is supposed to be all about helping climate change, right? Because we know that the world is going to end if we do not address climate change. This was a meme that a friend of mine shared with me. It says, believe it or not, there have been 41 climate disaster predictions since 1967, and their record so far, 0-41. Now, I saw this, and I've just gotten to the point, Mike, where when I see a meme, in particular one that I agree with, I find a need to fact check it. And in fact, I did. This is the American Enterprise Institute, which talks about 50 years of failed doomsday economic eco-apocalyptic predictions. So far they're 0-50. So great article. You guys need to check it out. But now I'm fact checking memes. But so everything they said was going to happen, every crazy evil thing that they said was going to happen to the ecology, it hasn't happened.
Hold on, I want to see if I can try it. Eco-apocalyptic. Did I get it?
You got it. You got it.
Eco-apocalyptic. There we go.
Yeah. How long? So how long were you saying that to yourself over and over again before you got it right?
I didn't even start until you messed it up 3 times. Then I tried. Otherwise, there's no value in it, right? Craig, you and I we mentioned this story off air, and the first thing I said is, dude, don't you remember the coming Ice Age movies we had to watch as young elementary students because there was another Ice Age coming.
Right.
And folks, we're only talking like 70s, 1975, 76, 77. I remember watching these movies in school, and there was another Ice Age coming. And you can go to the Google or the YouTube right now and look up 1970s coming Ice Age, and I mean they got like Leonard Nimoy, narrating them and everything, and talking about the current or the coming Ice Age, and it was going to get us all, and what we had to do to prevent it. And it's crap. It's all crap. All right, it's cyclical. The world is going to do what it wants, and when it's done with this, it'll spit us out, and it'll start over all over again.
We went from
I'm not saying go out and burn tires in your yard to keep warm. We should still do all the common things we should do, but when the temperature goes up 1 or 1.5 degrees over 30 or 40 years, not your fault. Not your fault.
Just how about this? First we had global cooling, then we had global warming. Then when they couldn't make up their mind, they started to call it climate change. And the fact is, if you really want to just test their theories, just go watch An Inconvenient Truth and watch the predictions that were made in that, and see where we are compared to that. Supposedly, we're all supposed to be dead right now. No, small part.
It all happens, comes back around. That's the way weather works too. It's a yin and yang. Look at. Remember the devastation of El Nino was gonna cause, but
Right.
then La Nina showed up and made it all right. You know, and
Right.
like, oh, it's
La
okay
Nina
now.
knows how to deal with El Nino.
That's right. That's like Benito and Diego. Yeah.
There you go. All right, this next one. Well, this is kind of wishful thinking, and I think this is kind of talking about predictors into the looking into the future. This for those of you once again who are listening to the program, these are some the two jail cell. It looked like a prison, right? You got two bars on the windows, and one of them says, "I demand to see my dad," and then the other one, there's a thing coming out that says, "I'm right here, Hunter."
That's it. From the cell next door, I'm right here, Hunter. Yep.
Yeah, I think should Republicans take over both houses, I think that in the presidency, that would probably be something. Although I would probably see Joe Biden would probably be released as a compassionate release because he's probably not meant to. He's not going to be
put
there.
An old senile guy like that in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
Nope.
Just
not
put
at
a
all.
tapioca trail into the cell. He'll take himself back there every night. He'll sleep there.
Exactly. Now, this last one I had to bring up because this is breaking news. Now, if for those of you who have watched the trailer for the new Black Panther movie, you know that first of all, Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther, died. He's passed away, and it's a big secret as to who the next Black Panther is going to actually be. I think we all have our theories. I think it's going to be very interesting. I loved the first movie. I think I will very much enjoy this next one.
Yeah. Yep.
In particular, because of the breaking news as to who the new Black Panther is going to be. That's right. Breaking news. Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU as Black Panther.
What do you mean, you people?
For those of you who are wondering what I am talking about, it's an image of Black Panther. You can see it's the lower body is the Black Panther suit, and they have imposed on it the head of Robert Downey Jr. reprising the role that he played in Tropic Thunder. What was that character's name?
It was the Sarge.
The Sarge. He basically played a white guy pretending to be a black guy in the movie.
Yep.
Actually, an Australian pretending to be a black guy in the movie. And the famous line from that one is, "What do you mean, you people?" And then the real black guy says,
"You people.
What do you mean, you people?"
That's it. I'm just a dude playing another dude.
Pretend to be the dude.
Pretend to be a dude.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. No, that is not in fact happening, but it's hilarious nonetheless.
Well, it might be. You don't know that. It might be.
I'm not seeing it. I could see that as a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, you never know. Yeah.
Okay.
Shatner
Mike, it's
did
about
them.
that time for a shout out to our sponsors.
Yep. Let's say hello to our good friends over at Gorilla Machining, Grid Defense, the California Republican Assembly, and then, of course, USCombatGear.com.
That's right, folks. Links to their websites are in the description to this video. So please take a moment, go there, check them out. I promise you will like what you see and you'll want to spend some money with them or donate some money with them. And when you do, or even if you don't, make sure you tell them that it's the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. With that, we have another episode down and in the can. So once again, we very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will see you tomorrow on Freedback Friday.